We just finished the battle. It was really cool. I was right in the front lines, but that's done now, and I'm back at camp, and I'm here with Matt West, and he is going to give me a tour. Matt, could you please state your name and title?
Sure, it's Lieutenant Colonel West. I'm the commander of the British Expeditionary Force to Mount Vernon.
Awesome. And so are you ready to do the tour?
Sure,
Let's do it.
Let's start out here in the front of the camp. This is our headquarters area. As you look around, this is the officers' camp. And the British camps, when they were set up, if they set up a full encampment, which we have here at Mount Vernon, they were set out in a very structured method. The officers were kept away from the enlisted men, which were away from the kitchen. So we'll take a walk through, and you can see this layout that the British followed as much as they could whenever they camped. Let's walk around to the other side of the camp here. As we're walking out of the officers area, you can take a look at the tents. They're a larger tent. They might have 2 officers staying with them. Some might have 1 officer. We might, if we're going to be encamped a while, have our families might catch up to us if we're a high enough officer. After you get to the officers' tents, the next line in the camp layout scheme is going to be the subalterns. So this would be more junior officers, more specialized officers' wall tents. So for example, we have our commander of the Royal Artillery dining with his lunch here. They are camped in this second round. At this point, we're still up with the officer class, which in the 18th century will be a gentry class. We're not real interested in having the enlisted men or the sergeants with us. So there's some barrier even in the camp layout. So as you look down the field now, we'll start moving into the enlisted men's camps. We have the camp kitchens and the wedge tents. So now at this point, in the 18th century, you actually wouldn't have the officers walking through the men's camp a whole lot. I might be looking for a sergeant, but I'm generally not going to be dealing with the men. As I was saying, we do have our German allies joining us.
You don't want to mess with these guys, do you?
Yeah, no, these are fairly fierce fighting men that the king retained to come over with us.
About a quarter of the Crown forces in the American Revolution were in fact German, and about half of them were from the state of Hesse, so they were all collectively known as Hessians, which most people have heard the term Hessians, but that's all we were German auxiliary troops fighting on the side of the Crown.
One thing I just wanted to show you quick, then we'll swing around and look at another couple units, is what these guys were living in. So they were in tents, these wall tents here, or these wedge tents. And if you look inside, it's not particularly big. This would have actually been pretty luxurious in that they would have had covering. But, well, it looks like maybe something you could spend the night in. This is what they would camp in for the duration of the campaign, if they weren't in the city. And you would have 5 men that would stay there. You'd have a mess of 6 men. 1 man would be on duty rotation all times. So you would have 5 men in there sleeping. When we talk about the British being better supplied, you have to think of it in more of a macro sense. If you saw, the officers had their significant camp. The men had tents. They had rations, they had food, and we'll take a quick walk through the kitchens. But it wasn't a luxurious life.
Yeah.
A soldier's life in the British Army was just as hard as what the Continentals would have. Mm-hmm. In the field, the men would not have these large kitchen tents we just saw.
Huh.
They would cook 6 guys a mess. They would have a pot, and they would dig a fire pit, and that was their meal. Whatever they were given in terms of rations, that's what they would have.
Okay.
So this would be a much more elaborate establishment where they would be camped out for quite a while. Most of the time, on the march, it's 1 pot in the fire pit, and that's your dinner. One more impression or type of camp I want to show you that's different from the full established battalion, long-term setup camp you'll see with the British tents, is a more mobile, a lighter and a faster camp, and really would be more indicative of what you would have seen late war, particularly in the South with Cornwallis, when he was trying to move quickly to catch up to the Continentals. Private Todd, if you could talk to them about the camp here. We just showed them a full battalion camp. If you could talk about the camp you have here.
Yeah, so we're the 17th Regiment of Foot, and what we're portraying is a British camp as it would have appeared on campaign. The soldiers would have had to only utilize the things that they carried with them, and that's down to the sailcloth tents. I mean, canvas wasn't a thing in the 18th century. This is luxurious. Most of the time, if we're marching along a road, you have just your blanket. But we've stopped for a bit, we're set up, we have our tent set up, we have our camp followers here with us. We're doing some cooking, so this will be a position we'll probably be in for at least a day, maybe more. But this is how they would have appeared in marching to battles like Brandywine or Cowpens or Guilford Courthouse.
It's very simple.
Yep, it's everything you can carry.
that's what we have for the British camp. As I said, it's a big layout, but there's a lot of variation. Everyone, as you were saying, thought the British lived more luxurious.
Yep.
You certainly saw the front end with the officers, a lot of luxury for being on the march, all the way down to the camp on the march that we just saw. So I hope you had a good time, Ethan. We thank you coming around for us.
Matt, thank you so
and,
much.
welcome to his Crown Forces camp.
Matt, thank you so much again.
Great.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Ethan.
All right, bye.
That wraps up our weekend here at Mount Vernon during Revolutionary War weekend. Mason, what did you think?
I had a great time. I was really surprised at how the British camp, I always assumed it was going to be much more luxurious, but they were still kind of having a hard time too.
Yeah, that's exactly what I expected as well. We chose to spend the weekend with the Brits because I spent the weekend last year with the Continental Army, and everyone said, oh, you should definitely stay with them because it's going to be completely different. It was very different, but it wasn't as luxurious as you had also anticipated. But it's really cool that the reenactors here from both sides, they go through hoops and do their research to reenact history as accurately as possible and to keep it alive for people like Mason and I to come and see it. So I really appreciate that, and it's really cool. And it's very transportive as well at the same time. Thank you again for joining us, and don't forget, if you haven't subscribed already, please click the subscribe button, and when you do, there's a little bell icon that pops up. You click the bell, you'll get a notification every time we upload a new video. Thanks again, and we'll have another video for you next week. See you later.